So let's skip to the other contribution of Jose Rizal. So in this first contribution that he gave also, that Rizal talisman for national stupidity. So what is being discussed here? So how heroes should be portrayed is strongly constrained by tradition. So heroes are people who effect change and carry a country's belief and goals. They are the guiding lights and the people who shape a person's character. They can consequently be thought of as country's soul and conscience. People's opinion and relationship with their legacy therefore frequently defines how important they are. Their ideology, beliefs, and examples serve as norms of or for moral collective behavior. One of the reasons why each generation must reinvent its national heroes and approach them from a different angle. So, the actions of heroes are also frequently up to interpretation, just like everything else in history. Without doing that, they will never be significant. It's terrible thought to wonder if our heroes are still relevant now. So, in the nation examines how its heroes are portrayed and developed in the public domain, it may be able to determine comprehend its own identity. Its ideals are exemplified by people's heroes, and if that's the case, which I have strong suspicion, it is then how we currently feel about Jose Rizal. It is a little unsettling, and that the significance of Rizal's annotation, Morga is cell well known in popular culture. So then his multi multilingualism and number of women is alleged to have slept with. For Rizal the former, he's somehow all about us without anyone being aware that his forms were intended to ignite successful rebellion. So actually Rizal has come to stand for country's stupidity. So the next one is the from the Claro M Recto and Rizal Pale, the Rizal Law RA 1245. So in this context, particularly how its heroes upheld national pride and fought for liberation despite the sufferings imposed by colonialism. The history of the Philippines was intriguing. So in the Republic Act of 1425 mandates that Rizal life and works being incorporated in to the curricula of the public schools throughout the country. This is done in effort to reawaken the sense of patriotism that every Filipino should possess, while also educating the kids about the life of the national hero. To the greatest extent possible, they believe that it should start with the next generation by educating them about patriotism. In my own opinion, this is great strategy because most young people today today's generation are so fascinated by international trends. So they also fail to recognize the incredible things that may found in their own country. Despite having the greatest of intentions, this is bill still run resistance, concluding claim that it was anti-Catholic. It's because wrote books and concepts at odds with Catholic theology. So for me as a student, so this legislation motivated me to devote more time to my history studies, learning more about the significance of freedom and how bravely the soldiers fought. It helped me because I'm always interested in history. I have to accept and realize that this is also a part of who I am, and I have inevitable obligation to absorb, think about, and put into practice all the lessons from Rizal's life and his works. It turns out that this law will always be enforced, contrary to what earlier experts thought. This is done in an effort to inform us of everything that has previously occurred in a world dominated by technological and scientific breakthroughs. It helps us maintain our commitment to our Filipino identity, especially in light of the current problems we are facing. So the next one is as a part of his contribution, we also known this a novel, the Noli Me Tangere. So in the year of 1884, Jose Rizal authored the novel entitled Noli Me Tangere. While studying medicine in Madrid, he traveled to Paris to continue writing this novel after completing his study in medicine there. Jose Rizal completed the final section of the Noli in Berlin. This book was designed to serve as the reminder to the negative things Jose Rizal went through while under Spanish rule. Our nation heroes first intended to write this book as the assistance of his fellow countrymen who were suffering at the hands of the Spanish, but he unexpectedly failed to do so because his fellow citizens lost hope in realizing their aspirations of independence at the hands of the Spanish conquerors. Without the assistance of his fellow Filipinos, Jose Rizal persisted in finishing his book and made the decision to pen it all by himself. With its recognizable characters, Noli Me Tangere is a beautifully presented Philippine culture. The deplorable situation of the once beautiful, now tragic country was typified by the tragic end of Maria Clara and the madness of Sisa. So, as my own interpretation that this narrative suggests Rizal authored the book let out countrymen recognize how oppressed our nation and was the time to take up arms. And he performed that the book wasn't dark or gloomy, nor it was fluffy. It is honest and raw. It demonstrated power abuse, grief, and greed. It is also demonstrated how the Spanish distorted the truth to serve their own interests, demonstrating their selfishness and abuse. So the next one is what we call the famous novel of Jose Rizal has been contributed to the Philippines, is also known as the El Filibusterismo. So El Filibusterismo is the regime of greed, which means this was also Rizal's second book, which he dedicated to his nation and its three martyrs, friars, Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora. The three priests were found guilty of being government traitors and given the death of penalty by the Spaniards. Additionally, this book was the Noli Me Tangere sequel. Noli, however, focuses on romance and love, whereas El Filibusterismo discusses the political and societal difficulties in our nation. It indirectly criticizes the Spanish government. The novel depicts how one person harbored resentment and craving for vengeance. I am aware that everyone wants to be a good and favor doing what is right over doing what is wrong. Not entirely that the sense of blessing, but more in the sense that we know we did the right thing and our hearts feel so light. Being decent person is gratifying. While Dr. Jose Rizal wished to teach us always try our best and never get caught up doing wrong. The novel also shared the violence is not the answer of the problem that we encountered in our life. What I also observed that a passage shows the dark and brutal various events of killing, sexual abuse, and suicide. We must think of it. We should not lower ourselves to the level to cover ourselves with the violence and rage of anger. So the next one is the vision of the Father Rodriguez. So after Fray Rodriguez's severe criticism of his work, Noli Me Tangere, Jose Rizal produced his defense under the alias Dimang Alang. So Agustin claimed that God had assigned him the task of educating Rodriguez about his foolishness and his earthly punishment, which is to continue writing foolish things for the amusement of all humanity. So Rizal demonstrated his sharp wit and depth religious understanding in his work. Furthermore, the line that the most affected me was when the weird bishop yelled indignantly, which is what we call the example, Homo sans homine, membra sine spirito, and this is the Philios, my name, body without soul, man without masculinity. You refer to yourself as my son. So that daily prayers and religious behavior of the friars only helped to infuriate me about their objectives. They are aware of their authority and influence over the unprivileged Filipinos. Those words made it clear to me that the friars' depiction of manhood, which goes beyond tormenting people and arousing dread, was incomplete. So the comparison of the friars to be a body devoid of a soul was emphasized, which is, on my opinion, is what happens when we voluntarily selflessly sacrifice for the undeserving. They look like people with hollow brains and inflated minds. When we define maleness and masculinity, we are quickly to assume that to the man means being aggressive, loud, violent, and dominant. Even more, maleness and masculinity is often defined by one's gender, their gender presentation, and how they perform maleness and masculinity. So, bracing the difference of others and uplifting those around you. So, in the next content of Rizal's life history, so this was called by the telephone topic in the module. So, Jose Rizal, a Filipino national hero, wrote the play for Por Telephone by telephone. Two friars discuss issues facing society and their aspiration of the Philippines in answer to the priest by the name of Father Salvador Font. It was published in 1989 regarding his animus toward Noli Me Tangere and for initiating the ban on Noli in the fall of 1889. So, Salvador Font in Barcelona, the first booklet was published under the guidance of Dimas Alang. Father Font connects with the local priest of San Agustin Monastery, Madrid, using a phone connection funded by the Trans-Oceanic Telephone Corporation in the satirical comedy For Telefono. So Por Telefono has a lot of symbolism. It shows how friars behave and also their appreciation for the presentation given by Illustrados. Every praise in said Madrid has reverberated throughout the Philippines. Rizal critiques and supremacy of the friars in his day with sarcasm and irony in this article. So, writing as if from the future, as we all know, Jose Rizal created a little sculpture named Prometheus bound. To symbolizes Prometheus, that the ancient Greek character who is credited with giving mankind life. His liver is devoured by an eagle every day, but the next day the eagle will return to it again since it grows back at night. Prometheus was punished by Zeus and being imprisoned on the mountains. So in results, maybe have been thinking of the enormous potential of the Filipino people, who were restricted by 300 years of superstition, ignorance, and feudalism. While he sculpted a scene matching the one seen in his space of heart. If you have read the story, you know the Hercules kills the eagle and set Prometheus free. And I'm hopeful for the future of and wonder who will be the Hercules of the Philippines. A figure who will enable every Filipino that has been beaten by science. So this novel could understand that every Filipino has also need a hero or a leader in our country, and it needs to be done in our own nation. So the last one is the Rizal's letter to Father Pastels SG. So Rizal's first letter to Father Pastels was sent on September 1, 1892. He expresses his thanks to the Father Pastel for the gifts, prayers, and counsel in the letter. He also emphasizes the importance of one's own judgment and self-esteem. He thinks that the greatest gift God has given even his self-worth. This letter tells admiration for Rizal's unwavering trust in God. Regarding of the circumstances, he adamant the Catholicism is one of the real religion, and that since God is the Word, he should follow God by cause the Bible's whole canon of revelation is accurate, and he in the forms result that science and religion don't conflict, since both of those areas under God's authority. Reminding Rizal that the conscience is essential for us, and that we should follow it because this is the tool God given us. I was pleased to learn that Rizal was able to retrieve a friend who would console him after reading his first Father Pastel. So his Catholic household and my parents emphasized the value of the believing in Jesus. We must trust his perfect timing and his purpose for us. I always think that he understood that was best, even if there are times where we are forced into position that we don't like. In my view, Rizal and I can emphasize because of our shared belief in our God. After reading this context, I had more respect for him, not just a hero but also a practicing Catholic. So in my own all of the learnings of Rizal, he is like the kind of hero for me by giving us a good lesson in life, not just learning those languages from his intellect and being a doctor, but also he referred to that God is also most important in our life. So we must know that every belief that we believe, we should maintain that in our lifetime until we were gone in this world. So that's all for today. Goodbye and God bless.